So maybe the other on-duty military personnel will come forward and say, yeah, that happened. Or, you know what, Jason's full of doggy doo-doo, and it didn't happen.
James, one of the things that I think makes your job really hard,
Yeah.
that, you know, it's almost like how do you even get around this if you're going to try to investigate it, is that you do have to talk with a lot of people who are from and around intelligence, right? Or high-level military or whatever you may say. And, you know, I'm so fascinated by that subject matter. You know, I've had some of these spooky people on here before. I like to hear them out, put my feds right where I could see them on camera and everyone else can listen and everyone judge for themselves. I understand it's a mixed bag. There's some things they say where I'm like, that's definitely bullshit. And then there's other things they say where I'm like, maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I never know the motive on it. So I just kind of sit here and do the best I can to understand that. But you dealing with the guys like the Christopher Mellons, dealing with guys like I've had in here, like Lou Elizondo, dealing with any of these people that are unnamed sources that you have as well, dealing with people even in Congress who, you know, I guess we could say it this way, report to those people in a way, and they wouldn't want to say that, but that's kind of how it is. You know, how do you grapple with trying to separate, you know, what is a psyop-like subject matter that may be brought your way versus things that could actually be on the pathway of your investigation that you're looking for?
Good question, and I totally get that's and particularly as you get closer to the target, things get a little more hazy, right? And you get under attack, and you don't know who to believe. I have the distinct advantage of having done extensive field research all around the world, and when I hear reports like what he's referring to, I remember hearing that Nellis test range footage leaked in the 90s. I was investigating UFOs, making my first film.
From who? Who'd you hear from?
On the internet. Like it was
just
reported,
basic public, yeah.
It was reported in a news, some like tabloidy news thing, but it was real. And I remember going, this is fascinating. And this was in the 90s. So I'd heard about the Nellis test range leak back in the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. And I've reported on close encounters of the first kind, close encounters of the second kind, and close encounters of the third kind all around the world, right? And so when I meet someone like Mr. Sands, I've got a lot of field research. For instance, you know, my time boots on the ground in Varginha, Brazil, crash retrieval program, capture of biologics, entities. So I go, all right, I can't just believe him because who he says or whatever he says, right?
Yeah,
and I feel that way about anybody else. Lou Elizondo, David Grush, like who do we know? What they say align with my field research? And if it does, I have to think, okay, this might be true. If it's way out to the right field or something, okay, a little more questionable. One thing I've learned in this field, I have that knee-jerk response. You hear something that sounds truly impossible, right? And you have this knee-jerk response like, this is too unbelievable. This can't be, therefore it isn't. I've learned after 30 plus years to suspend that judgment and at least listen and hear the people out, right? And so that's kind of where I'm at. Now, with Mr. Sands, this alleged encounter that took place in 1994, you got the video, you got the names. I'm not going to reveal them, but we have first and last names, documents that have leaked and on the whatever of other people that witnessed it.
They leaked publicly, you got access to them?
When the video leaked, other names leaked.
Okay.
And I contacted a couple people that I trust. Could I be, getting lights? Sure, I could be. Yeah, definitely.
Who you trust them? Why do you trust them?
Because I was the one that tracked them down, and they refused to meet with me. They did not come to me. I went to them, and I tried for years to get a meeting with them, and kept trying, and finally got a meeting. Became kind of friends. Had multiple meetings, and then I kind of lean on them for advice on, hey, can you do some background on this, and hey, can you do background on that, and I look for a sort of consensus among those various contacts.
Do they know each other? A lot of the ones you're thinking of right now?
I'm sure they know of each other. Whether they're in direct contact, I don't know.
Okay.
But I asked him point blank, after I looked into this for 8 months, what can I do? I can't prove that he had an encounter in the desert, but Jason's got some PTSD issues, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, I was really frustrated. I remember this is happened to a couple of people I was talking with. Did it happen or did it not happen, in your opinion? Please, do you think it happened or not? And they're like, we think it happened.
And Christopher Mellon was one of these people
I'm
who said
not
that?
saying any names, but we think it happened. And I was like, okay, all right. Well, based on that, I'm going to report on it. And I'm going to hope that me reporting on it will encourage other people that were potentially there, because now we have one person coming forward. We have video that's leaked. We have
Who were there at Nellis.
that video that leaked 3 days prior. So there was a UFO that was captured on sensory data. You can explain that one better. And then we, and then Jason Sands coming forward. So maybe the other on-duty military personnel will come forward and say, yeah, that happened. Or, you know what, Jason's full of doggy doo-doo, and it didn't happen. But one way or the other. Now, Jason was able to get a hold of one of the individuals.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yeah, and then he went dark, right?
Yeah, he ghosted me after I mentioned it.
We'll get there on the timeline. I promise people we're going to go through all this. I just don't want to jump around.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's just because it's a very controversial thing, and it's very controversial when you're dealing with, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, period. I mean, I was terrified when I covered the Rua, Zimbabwe case in 1994, the landing at the school.
Discussed that a lot in 138 with
you. And I had, Harry Reid and Podesta and all the, other intel folks in the phenomenon. And I was like, as soon as they see the fact, because they wanted to review the film before they're going to give me a release form, as soon as they see the fact that I've got reports of, face-to-face contact with aliens at a school in Africa, people are going to be like, you need to take me out of this movie, right?
Yeah, I don't want to rehash all that for the people, because we did do that in the past. Episode 138, it was like 17 minutes or 21 minutes into that, but that's a crazy case, and I discussed it with Danny Sheehan a lot, too.
Yeah, reporting on those types of the nature of those cases, with not a lot of evidence, right? You got eyewitness testimony is pretty much all you've got.
Yeah.
So,
anyway. But those were children, though, too, which is interesting.
True, yeah.
Because when you have so many kids saying the same thing.
Yeah, it was a compelling
And then you
case.
have John Mack, psychologically evaluating them. I'm not saying it doesn't mean it's not made up, but, it's a little bit.
Yeah.
That one keeps me up at night.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I'd like to talk to him, too, because I know that from my encounter that some of them claim that they had some kind of telepathic conversation. And from my experience, I know there was, residue information that I don't know where it came from.
Residue information?
When you join a mind space, the way I felt it was that there was some part of that person that was overlaid onto me. And it was it was almost like we were one mind for a bit. And I'd like to talk to some of those kids that were there and see if they have some residue memories of who they spoke to, because that's kind of how it felt with me, is that there were some leftover things that I'm like, well, that's not my life, but this was from that telepathy.
It's interesting. When I flew in some of the witnesses with the help of Randall Nickerson back in 2013. It was coming up on the 20th anniversary of the landing at the school in Ariel School in Zimbabwe. And a lot of the witnesses that came in, I was talking to them. They were married, they were school teachers, lawyers, and had partners. And they had not. They were like, well, I had to tell my husband. I had to tell my husband. You had to tell your husband what? She goes, well, I told my husband about the incident. I was like, you're married with kids and you didn't tell your husband prior to that?
Yeah.
No, we didn't. Why? Well, I was tired of defending it, and I just quite honestly had to put
defending it.
Yeah, just like people looking at me with this incredulous look on their face, like you're crazy. And I got tired of talking about it, so I didn't talk about it. So I was like, you're married with kids and you didn't tell your husband about this. Nope, I didn't. Up until now. And he just told you just told a few years ago your wife and your kids. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I kept my mouth shut, but there was.
So you didn't back when it happened?
No, I did my good boy, keep my mouth shut, but then I started seeing some things that I was concerned with, and that's when I went to Congress.
Got it. So James, just as a devil's advocate here to play this out, you talk about these guys you had to track down. And they wouldn't talk with you, and then they talk with you. And I think about this. It's very possible that the outcome is exactly what you said. But the other possible outcome is that they're like, holy shit, there's this guy who is like a bloodhound on the trail. Like, he doesn't give up. He knows his shit about the phenomenon. He's a very, very, respected name in that space. He's been investigating this stuff for years. He can roll off all these facts from around the world. He could be useful to us to fucking feed him some information because he's fiending for it, and that could be useful for whatever we're doing that's a distraction from what's really going on here. Not to say like, oh, we're not alone in the universe, or not to say that we're not alone in the universe or something like that, but that there are other things at play here i.e., I don't know, reverse engineered DARPA weapons or things like that are even from things of this earth that we don't want China and Russia knowing we got from a human standpoint. So we're going to say, oh, look at the fucking green alien. And James Fox is going to be our guy to put the information out there that tries to push that narrative. Do you think that could happen with any of these guys?
Well, yeah, good point. And I would say that when you've got someone like Mr. Sands or people that have appeared in my movie, right? A number of people, they've exposed their faces, right, and their names, saying, "Look, you provide me with the necessary like clearance or immunity, and I'll provide all the level of detail you need to verify what I'm telling you." Right? So the implications are so significant that we owe it to ourselves to make sure that these individuals, like take him, take Hal Putoff, and a number of other people that have come forward, let's fight, let's inform Congress, and let's fight to get these guys immunity and put them on under oath to testify to a bipartisan group of lawmakers publicly. Let's provide them with immunity, and let's get the specifics. Let's verify, let's prove or disprove what their claims are, because the implications are so profound, not just for everyone within the United States. This is going to have a global impact, right? So yes, you have to, in the back of your mind, go, yeah, they could be, but again, it aligns with my research in the field. I really can't emphasize that enough. So let's expose the fact that these folks, they're asking for immunity. Please, I've got NDAs, I've signed all these security oaths. Please just give me immunity, put me on the stand, let me take a lie detector, let me testify under oath to a bipartisan group of lawmakers, and I'll give you all the details you need to verify what I'm telling you, okay? So let's see it out. It's too significant not to, so why not?
Watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.